Hi there everyone, welcome to Creative Coloring with Erum. I am Erum Tasneem and today we will use Altenew's watercolor brush markers to color. Stay tuned. I've already heat embossed the image in antique gold embossing powder on a watercolor cardstock. This is the new watercolor cardstock, the 5x7 one, hot pressed cardstock, which is smooth and it's lovely for heat embossing. So I'll start by first applying Persian blue watercolor brush marker to the base of the petal and to areas where I want to apply this. Then I will use a water brush to spread out the pigment. Because I want my flower to be two-toned and my petals to have both blue and turquoise shades, so I am going to add a turquoise watercolor pigment as well. Now this is your preference. If you want the turquoise on the tips or on the base of the petal, I would like this to be on edges or areas where the flower is curling, or just where I feel like adding it. It's not necessary for you to add this to all the petals. You can just add it to some just to give interest. Because I'm going to use just a few colors of watercolor brush markers, I'm going to mix pigments of these watercolors and create tonal effects, 2 tones or maybe 3 tones, so that I get a variation at the end. Watercolor brush marker pigment is super concentrated and very pigmented, so you just need a little if you want to just add a light color. But if you want to add a really bold color on your flowers, or if you want to make a bold statement, then go ahead and add quite a bit of it. But again, I would suggest to hold yourself back because a little goes a long way, especially with watercolor brush markers. I have never refilled mine and I've been using these markers like weekly or maybe monthly. And when I do, I use them a lot. I color backgrounds using these markers, and when you color backgrounds, you do require a lot. And if you have noticed, my backgrounds are super bold and super dark most of the time, so I would require a lot of pigment. Even then, I've not run out of pigment yet. The other great thing about watercolor brush marker pigment is that it is water reactive. So once you lay it down, even if you've mixed water to that, you can reactivate that with water and then swap it up with a tissue paper if you think that it's too dark. Obviously, it's not going to remove the entire thing, but it's going to lighten considerably. The second flower that I'm coloring, I'm only going to use a Desert Night pigment here, and Desert Night is very concentrated. You only need very little bit of this, so you will see that I'll apply this a very little bit of it on the base. Then I will use my water brush to spread it out in a vein like pattern. After doing this, I'll use more water to further spread it out and to lighten. Doing the vein like kind of effect, what this does is it creates a pattern on the petals, and in this way the flowers already are different from each other, but then it kind of shows a sort of texture on the petals, and also shows some folds without actually having to work very hard on it. It's just one layer of color, but because it is so concentrated, I can color it in this manner to fake the folds of the petal. Coloring the cornflowers is the easiest. So I used purple wine to color the one on that's off the edge, half of the edge. Persian blue, that's on top of the purple wine flower. And then for the topmost flower, I am using Midnight Violet. You can use Purple Night and mix a little bit of Persian blue to this. You don't have to necessarily use Midnight Violet, but because I had it in front of me, I picked that up. What I'll do is I'll apply pigment on the lower edge of the petal and then spread it out with the watercolor brush. That's it. That's all you have to do. Make sure that the tip of the petal is lighter and it will automatically create a shadow. Because you're using the watercolor brush marker directly onto the watercolor paper, it kind of creates the depth on its own. If you want to create lighter highlights, you can use tissue paper to sop up some of the pigment from the tip of the petals or the raised portions of the petals. For the leaves, I will apply the black pigment, the jet black watercolor brush marker, to the base, and then use my water brush to spread the pigment towards the tip. Even though my leaves are going to be black, they're not going to be solid one color, but shaded. Because I'm going to apply a light diluted color wash of jet black pigment onto the background, I will make sure to have my leaves slightly darker than the background. So after I'm done coloring the panel, I will color outside the lines just a light gray color, so that once I die cut the image, there is no white outline. Now what you can do is you can spread out the color of the flowers in the first place, so that you don't have to do this. I didn't think about this earlier because I was going to create a one layer card at first. For the flower centers, I'm going to use jet black watercolor brush marker. I'm going to apply this to the base, and then I will use the water brush to spread out the pigment so that the tip of this flower center is lighter than the base. It will automatically create a dimension and show depth. That is how most of the coloring goes when I'm using watercolor brush markers. It's super easy and super fun, also super fast. Next, I will die cut the image and set it aside. After this, I am going to take another panel of cardstock from the same loose sheets, the 5x7 one. I'm not creating a card, I'm just coloring a panel. So now I'll add a light color wash of the same jet black pigment onto the panel. This is going to be more concentrated on the left hand side so that it appears that it's coming from underneath the flowers. I'll keep the color wash super light, lighter than the leaves, so that the floral arrangement stands out. Once I'm happy with the look of the color wash, I will dry the panel and add black splatters. I'm using jet black ink spray to do this. Now I'll keep this panel overnight to dry properly and to flatten as well. Then I will stick the die cut with instant dimension foam tip, and that's it. I hope you enjoyed the coloring process. It is super easy to color with Altenew watercolor brush markers, and they are absolutely the best. They're beautiful, they're pigmented, and you should give them a try. If they overwhelm you, I would suggest scribbling them out on a non-porous surface or your craft mat, and then using a paintbrush to pick up the pigment and then coloring. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.
Hello there! Did that video just spark your creativity? And do you want more project ideas and inspiration videos too? Well, if you do, please make sure that you subscribe to the Altenew YouTube channel. Also, make sure that you do click that notification bell so you don't miss a video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye bye.